Hey everybody, and welcome to day 34 of 50 days until 50. On today, 34, I came up with something that I thought would be very common amongst people that not only start reaching into this age, but also just something that in general happens to us, and I found that it's okay. So on this day 34, I thought to myself, it's okay to be lost once in a while. You know, a lot of times we go through this whole thing called a midlife crisis where we get a little lost in the fact of dealing with the thought process of where we think we should be at this point or where we were hoping to be. And when we realize that we have not reached that point, we feel lost. But what if you did take that moment to just get lost, and just get into your thoughts and start to figure out maybe possibly where you should be in life? And maybe you are exactly where you should be. I mean, I've grown into this ability of saying that, sometimes you get lost just simply because you need to have a moment to just think about what's happening in your life. I think the good thing about things happening is that it gives you an opportunity to reflect back on and say, I won't make the same mistake twice, so you get lost. This especially is seen with people such as myself that have been married before. When you've been married before and you're in the dating process, and the dating process it starts to get serious, and maybe the thought process of marriage comes up again, you sometimes get a little lost in that process because you say to yourself, what am I doing? I don't want to make the same mistake twice. I don't want to do this again. I don't want to do that again. And I think it's okay to get lost. I think it's okay to remove yourself from the situations or situations and say, I need to just think back, regroup, and really think about what it is that I'm doing, and I need to get lost for a minute in order to do that. What if you took the opportunity to take everything in your life that was a major decision and you got lost a little bit before you said yes or no, or before you made any decision about something that could be a life changer for you? The part of where it becomes a situation that works in your benefit would be if you can get yourself out of it. Because it becomes hard, like if you're lost and you remain lost for an extensive amount of time, well, then that can then turn into depression, and it can then turn into a lot more sicknesses and illnesses because you just continuously stay in this element of lost. But I often wonder to myself, I would feel a little guilty because I feel like I would get lost, and I start questioning a lot of things. But then I realize I'm glad that I did, because getting lost is your me time, where it allows you to think about anything that you're being faced with, even though you're at a fork in the road, and even though you're being faced with being lost because you don't know which way to go. I find that common in dealing with relationships because being a person that's about to be 50, you become complacent and comfortable in your space. And then when you're in relationships and you start picking out the things that you're being asked to deal with, you get a little lost because you say to yourself, do I want to deal with this types of situations for the rest of my life? I always said that if I ever got married again, that was it. Like I would never do it again. That would be it for me. And if that marriage ended, I would never ever do it again. That would be it. I would totally get lost in regards to marriage. But I think getting lost is a positive thing. It's just as long as you can reel yourself back. It's sometimes people can make you get lost. Sometimes situations can make you get lost. It's no secret. I've spoke a lot of times about my family and this situation of me caring for my mother and the lack of support from the other side of my family. And sometimes being in that situation, you know, you get a little lost because you start getting in your personal feelings. You start saying to yourself, what the hell's going on? You know, why? And that's what starts to take you away further and further and further. But then you reel yourself back in, and you got to understand that what I'm trying to learn in this process, to get a little religious a little bit, is that I start to understand that God's position for me is that which it is, whether I like it or not. You know, obviously He's put me here to do a job, and who am I to tell Him anything different, even if I complain about it? So I try to embrace the time that I have with my mom, embrace the moments and the sacrifices, because we talk about very early in this process, we talked about sacrifice. And sometimes I get sad, sometimes I get, you know, lost, and sometimes it just is a reaction to everything that's going on. You know, a small part of me sometimes just want to remove myself totally from social media because of the negativity. People hide behind keyboards, and when they do that, it gives them the ability to just talk negatively and do things, and then I get lost where I'm just like, yo, I not only did I never do nothing to these people, and I'm like, well, why they feel the need to talk back? So it starts to make you pull back, because I'm a sensitive individual. Like there's a lot of people that don't care, and they good and they go, but me, I get sensitive about it, and I get a little lost because I'm confused. But I find that it's okay to experience that. It's okay to be that type of person, because you have to understand that getting lost allows you to regroup, allows you to understand your purpose, allows for prayer, allows for a lot of different things that maybe if you stayed in it, you wouldn't be able to take a moment to get lost. You know, and it's just the normal process of life, and I'm learning that. And I tried to like think back, you know, in my almost 50 years, you know, were there times and moments where I should have gotten lost, and then maybe I would have been able to make a better decision. You know, like the day I met my ex-husband, I should have got lost on that day, but but I didn't, or the time in my life when I was very slim, and instead of me taking a moment to get lost and regroup of what I'm doing, like I kept eating and gained that weight back, and now, you know, again back to the drawing board where I've now lost a huge amount of weight and still trying to take off the rest of it. It's just a continuous process, but sometimes it is necessary for you to get lost so that you can have a moment to get your thoughts together. So that's why I say in 2019, get lost when you are faced with these decisions and these situations that are so like, oh my God, and you just don't have a moment to think about what decisions you need to make. It's time to get lost in that process. It is so necessary to do that for your own personal sanity, is, you know, no matter what it is, whether it's a positive decision too, and you just really not sure, it is imperative that you get lost. You know, take the time to get lost and regroup and rethink and try to figure it out. Take time to get lost and get with God and ask Him to help you develop a plan to maybe get out of situations or different things like that. But I'm going to tell you, in order for you to make any decisions about anything that is really serious, if you don't take the time necessary to be alone and get lost with yourself for a moment, there's a strong possibility that you could make the wrong decision. So what if you are just in a position of saying, you're faced with this, I think I'm going to get lost for a minute. I've even said that there's times that if I was in a position where I won Powerball or the Mega Millions or something like that, I'm telling you, God is my witness, I would get lost before I made any decisions, because it is something so serious that you can't quickly decide about stuff when you're faced with something so serious. And I'm gonna tell you something. In your life, you're going to be in a position where you possibly may hurt people because you have to get lost for a minute to make a decision about your own life. See, a lot of times we go through the process of we make decisions because we don't want to hurt others and we don't want to hurt people around us. So we kind of put our feelings to the sides for the sake of someone else. And I'm learning in my 50 years that I got to toughen up and got to get my skin a little tougher and understand that what's important is me making a decision for me and not a decision for other people. That's a hard pill to swallow because, you know, a lot of us are filled with the life of we want to make decisions that appease to people and make people happy. And a lot of times we make these decisions and we don't think about ourselves. I'm sure in 2019 I'm going to be faced with some tough decisions, and these tough decisions are going to either make me happy or it's going to make other people happy and me sad. So it's me toughening up and taking a step back to get lost for a moment to really think about what it is I want. And once I do that, then I can make a better decision and stick with my decision and keep my life moving, regardless of whether or not it hurts others. Sometimes that's just life, and this is what it takes. So as we move forward and the days get a little bit more, tomorrow's is really interesting, that I think you'll enjoy that as well. But, you know, it's okay. I'm going to end with this. It's okay for you in 2019 to take a moment and get lost. Go somewhere and cut the phones off and remove yourself for a minute from social media and everything, and just sit back and regroup and make sure that you take time for yourself where you are actually on the path to which you hope you would be. Don't let others influence your decisions of what you're trying to do, because in the end it is about you personally. Because you have to understand, if you don't do good for yourself, you can no longer be good for others. Because you will always be in the state of, I wish I would have, or I wish I should have done this or that. You don't want to do that in 2019. So move forward and make the right decisions, but get lost before you make any of those decisions. All right? All right, bye, everybody. I'll see you tomorrow.